Welcome to Business Incorporated. Many thanks for joining us. I am Bolaji Akinwale. This week on the program, we will bring you some of our interviews for the year as part of a review for 2013. But first, we will take you through some of the business headlines for the week. As the holiday season continues, air travelers may have to pay more. The limited number of domestic carriers operating in the country and the rush for air tickets have led to a rise in airfares on major routes by about 30%. Hundreds of passengers waited patiently for their flights in some of the airports, most of which were delayed. Others besieged the counters of the few operational carriers in search of tickets to various destinations. Reports say the price of air ticket for an hour flight currently ranged from 24,000 naira to 43,000 naira, depending on the carrier. This was against a range of 18,000 naira to 30,000 naira a few weeks ago. Officials of some airlines stated that the rush for tickets was more pronounced on certain routes such as Lagos, Enugu, Abuja, Owerri, Calabar and Port Harcourt. Tickets on these routes were selling at high prices as the airlines exploited the opportunity of the Christmas and New Year celebrations and the limited number of operational carriers. Reports say subscribers of mobile telecom firms in the country are still finding it difficult to communicate with their loved ones, especially during this festive season. This is despite threats from the federal government to sanction telecoms operators for poor quality of service by the end of this month. Some areas hitherto with good network quality suddenly lost signals, leading to cases of dropped calls. And even where signals were okay, some subscribers were unable to make and receive calls on Christmas Eve and the day after. Amidst the constraints, most subscribers had to rely on text messages, BlackBerry Messenger and emails, in some cases to communicate with their families and friends. The federal government had earlier this month threatened to prosecute telecom service providers that continued to render poor quality services to subscribers after December the 31st. In this set of interviews, we'll bring you some of the discussions that addressed a number of issues on the economy. The interview with South Africa's Deputy Minister of Trade as one that may be of interest to you. South Africa is one of Africa's biggest economies. What is responsible for the strength of that economy?
As far as I can say is that in 1994, we inherited a very fragmented type of an economy, and in fact an economy in tatters at the time. And we turned it around because we adopted good macroeconomic policies and also had the fundamentals in place and made sure that the fiscal policy can work. And that has assisted us a great deal because we're able to rely on our revenue on collecting taxation, that we can be able to use that vis-a-vis only getting loans from outside. And that has helped then for us because we were able to make sure that we service the apartheid debt that we inherited, but not borrowed more, but used the local revenue. I think that assisted us a great deal in terms of pushing forward and making sure that we can then have a sustainable economy.
One of the challenges of trade integration in Africa has been the movement of goods across countries on the continent, and several times the African Union has talked about this issue. What's your view on it?
Yes, it depends after taking those decisions, what mechanisms then are put in place in different countries to implement what has been agreed upon within the AU. But as a country in South Africa, I think to me we have done a lot in terms of making sure then that we can make some way forward in terms of implementing some of the resolutions taken. We have taken that very serious. Hence then, like the trade mission that I am leading currently, of 38 businessmen and women, we are here to make sure that we can come to Nigeria and let the business people have to interact, matchmake, joint venture, and take the opportunity then to work together and try and deal exactly with the issue of making sure that we can attain intra-African trade. Because we believe that you don't have to talk about it, because we can only get regional economic integration if you support each other's economies, if you buy from each other, if you import, export from each other, and increase on the volumes of doing trade between African countries, then you'll see a better continent with a better muscle, and other things then will follow.
As the Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry in South Africa, to what extent does the government interfere with what you do in your industry or even in the larger economy?
Well, it depends with each other's country's regulations and laws and the constitution as to what is it that they want to do. Any country does not prescribe to another as to what is it that you do. It depends from that country's view what is good for the country and how can you then deal with it. And from the South African side, we've got few state-owned entities that are under government, but private sector operates, and for us as government, we try and make sure that within our bilateral and country-to-country relation, we sign economic and trade investment agreements that then relate into business people implementing some of those because they are in the private sector. Because we believe that government's duty or role in any way is not to create jobs per se, but is to create conditions that are conducive for business to do business. Because people in the private sector, it is what they are like practitioners of that, and they're able to do that. Government is not the sole job provider or whatever, but it creates opportunities for job creation to happen. Well, government will employ the public servants, but as you know, government is not making profit. But will have your state-owned entities that then will be able to take forward what you want to do. And in South Africa, we are aspiring to be a developmental state. Hence, then we use the state-owned entities to be those entities that are trying to unlock the gem if we have, or blockages that exist, and make sure that they can then do that part. But largely, private sector operates in South Africa, and most of the time, the companies that I'm with, we've got only one state-owned entity, is the SABS, that is part of this trade mission. 38 are business people solely who are there as entrepreneurs, as business people who are looking for business partners that then will facilitate, and in terms of the incentives that we give, they'll be able to get, and the support system that we've created to bring them here as government, pay for them, ticket accommodation, ground transport, etc. Because at the end, we believe this will then bear very good fruits from government to make sure that they can invest it either here or even increase on our export then to this country. But we believe on a mutually agreed upon win-win situation, so that it cannot be skewed to one country doing business and trade. It must then try to balance, which is always not easy to balance that. But we continue as a country to support such measures, because trade missions, your exhibitions, your pavilions are those that make sure that between two countries or many countries, you see quite change in terms of people. Then if they have to come and display like this beadwork from South Africa to Nigeria, many people will be able to like some of this beadwork and be able to buy. The same way, if you're the Nigerian small business or principal can go to South Africa and exhibit some of the beadwork or any other thing that you do traditionally, they may like and buy, but it's only because they've displayed them, they've exhibited them. Before that, you did not know that these can be made by these people. Then we support such measures as well as the government, as the Department of Trade and Industry, to make sure that market access can be realized.